I want to just thank again the Supreme Court for this ruling. It's a giant. It's a giant.
U.S. President Donald Trump on Friday applauded the Supreme Court after it delivered what he called a monumental victory, limiting the power of federal judges to impose nationwide rulings to block his policies. That included his directive to limit birthright citizenship, which was halted by 3 injunctions issued by judges in Maryland, Massachusetts, and Washington state, while litigation challenging the policy plays out. But the Supreme Court did not let Trump's executive order on birthright citizenship go into effect immediately, saying the lower courts that blocked it must reconsider the scope of their orders.
Hundreds of thousands of people are pouring into our country under birthright citizenship, and it wasn't meant for that reason. It was meant for the babies of slaves.
The court's 6-3 ruling, authored by conservative Justice Amy Coney Barrett, specified that Trump's executive order cannot take effect until 30 days after Friday's ruling, and it did not address the policy's legality. Still, Friday's ruling helps clear the way for Trump's order to eventually take effect in some parts of the country. Charles Cook is a law professor at Emory University and the University of Georgia.
This gives the president an enormous amount of power to basically rewrite federal law. That's what this executive order does. It tries to rewrite federal law and the ability of citizens to stop that from happening. Some would say it speaks of dictatorship authority. We'll see what happens over the course of the next several weeks. Really, we'll learn very quickly how the Trump administration is going to interpret this.
Justice Sonia Sotomayor, in a dissent joined by the court's other 2 liberal members, said Trump's executive order is obviously unconstitutional. On his first day back in office, Trump signed an executive order directing federal agencies to refuse to recognize the citizenship of children born in the United States who do not have at least one parent who is an American citizen or a green card holder. That triggered outrage among immigration advocates, and challengers of the policy say more than 150,000 newborns would be denied citizenship annually under Trump's directive.
Unfortunately for Donald Trump, federal law says that they're U.S. citizens, so Trump's executive order is contrary to an actual written federal law, let alone constitutional interpretation.
The Supreme Court delivered a barrage of other rulings on Friday. In a 6-3 ruling, again divided along ideological lines, the court delivered victory to Christian and Muslim parents in Maryland who sued to keep their elementary school children out of certain classes when storybooks with LGBT characters are read. In another ruling, the court kept a key element of the Obamacare law that helps guarantee health insurers cover preventative care, such as cancer screenings, at no cost to patients. The High Court also upheld a Texas law that requires pornographic websites to have all users submit personally identifying information to verify that they are at least 18 years old.
So as we can see, family, the Trump administration had some wins and also took a few losses to their court issue with the birthright citizenship. And I'm going to say this. Now, I do believe that individuals must come here legally because it's the law. And if you come here legally, then, and I know everybody has the question of, well, who is really legal? and who was here first. And well, in my opinion, black people were here first. But that's neither here nor there when it what we're gonna discuss. What I'm going to say is this, that I'm looking at it twofold, two ways. Yes, people should come here. Immigration should be a legal process that people come here to obtain residency and citizenship or permanent status in some form, where they can be here and then have their children. You know, they have their children and they are to be citizens. However, it was created for the descendants of slaves. Okay, but because we were not brought here, we didn't come here willingly. We were brought here, or our ancestors were brought here on slave ships. Now, what I am going to say is to kind of play a little devil advocate for this situation. See, because what we got to remember is this enemy is a nefarious, wicked, evil enemy, and they make long term plans and put them into effect little by little. You know what I'm saying? As to put them under, the door so people are not really paying attention. Now, I'm all for legal immigration coming into the country, okay, and that's for anyone. But I'm thinking too, family. The 14th Amendment. If they were to tweak it in any kind of way, who knows? I mean, I'm just saying, because these people don't care about about anything and anyone except themselves. So let's say this. Let's say that they did. I'm gonna have to put on my glasses, family, because I'm trying to see. I had jotted some notes down. So you have to look at it in a lot of ways, because the 14th Amendment, yes, although they made it for descendants of slaves, it has other components to it as well. Okay, so the 14th Amendment was originally, as I said, created for Black Americans that or yeah, Black Americans that were our descendants of slaves. But without the 14th Amendment, say if they were to tweak some of the components of the 14th Amendment, or to remove the 14th Amendment, because I don't know, we really don't know where they're going. And he's doing executive orders, but just, yeah, the executive orders are being taken to court. However, it takes time. So once he puts an executive order in place and says it's going to be done like this at this time, and then someone who's against it, or some agency, or whatever who's against it, who files a lawsuit to take it to court, all of that process, that legal process, also takes time. Okay, so it says, so if the 14th Amendment were to be wiped out, due process would be wiped out. So if you're charged with a crime and say you didn't do this crime, and like now, really and honestly, black people do not get due process in the United States of America. We do not. But just say if you're a white person, because many of you Caucasians that are Republicans that voted for Trump, you voted for this too. So that means your due process could be eliminated as well. It would affect millions of Americans in different ways. Without the 14th Amendment, they can ignore the Bill of Rights, which means the part where freedom of speech, religion, and more. So they could say, hey, you no more YouTube, no more commentaries, no more, you're gonna think like this, or you're not gonna think at all, and you're gonna be quiet about it. And they can begin to do things like that, become a real dictator, which, as far as I'm concerned, America has always been a dictatorship for black people. We have never since the inception of America, since us being here with them. I'm saying because many of us were here already, but I'm talking about the ones that even were brought over from the motherland. Since the inception of Black people coming into contact with these people, we've had no freedom. Their freedom has been wiped off of the table completely. So it says, and also people with disabilities. You know what I'm saying? Because there are components for in the 14th Amendment, in the different articles and things for people that are disabled. So we really have to look at it twofold. But either way, whatever, it doesn't matter. We as Black Americans, foundational Black Americans, have found a way to get through this system. It's not always easy, and there are times that it may seem very difficult, but we manage to get through, and we will continue to manage to get through because we've always been at the bottom of the totem pole in America. Yet we have persevered and overcame so many things, and including increasing as a collective. Yeah, we may not be the most highest in the economic level as far as in our community. But we are rising because there was a time that Black people really had nothing. Okay, right after slavery, you know what I'm saying, and then during the Jim Crow years. But we have managed through all of that to build ourselves up to where we are today, and we'll continue to build. That's why when you see these Black people going in together, forming these corporations and buying land, and that's what my family is thinking of doing as well. Um, but buying land and making it, you can, buy up to, I know a lady that has, I think she has like 30 acres or 37 acres of land. You know what I'm saying? Her and her family. That's what we're going to have to do. And we're going to have to get together. We're going to have to be able to protect ourselves. We're going to have to do whatever we need to do against this wicked nation. But that's what we're going to have to do. But so family, I mean, you can look at it just like, yeah, the immigrants are not going to be able to claim birthright citizenship anymore. But we also got to look at what's the long game that this enemy is playing. You know what I'm saying? And as I told you, I'm not a Democrat and I am not a Republican. I am neither. Okay? Neither. Not even an independent. If there is no party that is specifically offering something to my community, they won't get my vote. And I could care less. And unfortunately, a lot of Black people feel like if I don't vote at all, then I'm at a loss. And it's not the case. We have to vote for something. Otherwise, we're voting for other communities' benefits. And that is something that we got to stop doing as a community and as a whole. No more voting for other people's benefits. We have to vote our own benefit. All right, family. I thank you so much for joining me. Please like, share, and subscribe. And I will see you again in the next video. Take care. Bye bye. Peace.